Deep within the heart of the whispering woods, where the trees stood tall and ancient, their gnarled branches weaving a canopy that filtered the sunlight into a mosaic of gold and green, there lived an old owl named Orin. His feathers, once a vibrant tapestry of brown and white, had faded to a soft, silvery gray, and his eyes, large and luminous, held the weight of countless seasons. Perched high in the hollow of an ancient oak, Orin was a silent observer of the forest's ebb and flow, its joys and sorrows. The Whispering Woods was no ordinary forest. It was a place where the wind carried secrets, where the rustling leaves seemed to murmur ancient wisdom, and where the animals lived in a delicate balance of harmony and strife. Orin had seen it all: the playful antics of young foxes, the fierce hunts of the wolves, the tender courtship of deer. But he never interfered. Not when the rabbits argued over the juiciest patch of clover, not when the beaver's dam threatened to flood the meadow, and not even when the young hawk, Talon, struggled to master the art of flight. "Why don't you help them?" asked a curious sparrow one evening. "You're the wisest of us all. Surely you could guide them." Orin turned his head slowly, his eyes reflecting the fading light. "Sometimes, little one, the best way to help is to let others learn from their own mistakes," he replied. The sparrow tilted her head, puzzled. But before she could ask more, a commotion erupted below. A young fawn, barely more than a few weeks old, had wandered too close to the riverbank. The current was strong, and the fawn's legs trembled as it teetered on the edge. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The doe, the fawn's mother, stood frozen on the opposite bank, her eyes wide with panic. Orin's talons tightened around his perch, but he did not move. The sparrow fluttered anxiously. "Do something," she chirped, but Orin remained still, his gaze fixed on the scene below. The fawn stumbled, its hooves slipping on the wet stones. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed the river would claim the young creature. But then, with a burst of determination, the fawn found its footing and leaped to safety, landing shakily beside its mother. The forest exhaled, the tension dissipating like mist in the morning sun. The sparrow turned to Orin, her tiny chest heaving. "You could have helped," she said, her voice tinged with reproach. "And what would the fawn have learned?" Orin asked gently. "That others will always save it?" "No, little one. Sometimes the greatest lessons are born of struggle." As the days turned to weeks, the forest continued its dance of life. The young hawk, Talon, finally took to the skies after many failed attempts, his triumphant cry echoing through the trees. The beavers, after much debate and a near disaster, rebuilt their dam in a way that benefited the entire forest, and the rabbits, having learned the hard way, shared the clover patch more equitably. But then, one crisp autumn evening, a new challenge arose. A strange scent wafted through the woods, a scent of smoke and danger. The animals gathered in the clearing, their eyes wide with fear. A wildfire was spreading, its flames licking at the edges of the forest. Panic set in as the creatures realized the gravity of the situation. "We must flee," cried the deer. "But where will we go?" asked the rabbits. "We need a plan," shouted the beavers. Amid the chaos, Orin remained calm, his eyes scanning the horizon. The sparrow, now perched beside him, looked up anxiously. "What do we do?" she asked. Orin's gaze softened. "This," he said, "is a time for action." With a powerful beat of his wings, he took to the sky, his voice ringing out clear and strong. "Follow me." Orin led them through the forest, his keen eyes guiding them away from the advancing flames. They moved as one, a river of fur and feathers, until they reached the edge of the woods, where a wide, shallow stream offered safety. As the animals crossed to safety, the fire raged behind them, but they were out of harm's way. The sparrow, perched once more on Orin's branch, looked at him with newfound respect. "You helped us," she said softly. Orin's eyes gleamed with a quiet wisdom. "There are times to watch, and there are times to act. The key is knowing the difference." And as the sun rose over the charred but resilient forest, the animals understood. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in knowing when to step back and when to step forward.